Hey everybody, today is Friday, the 19th of January, and we're in here with Fern's pups. They have been playing, I've been taking the video of them, and they're just starting to get tuckered out and want to fall asleep, which is the perfect time to start this little video. So now that I'm talking, the last of the holdouts are running around me saying, "Ooh, where's all that noise coming from?" These pups are very people-oriented, so when I talk to them, they get very interested in me and come and running. That is, unless they are so tuckered out from playing that they just sleep through it all. So I've got these four that are yet to fall asleep. I've got a couple in here that have fallen asleep and a couple around me. So I'm going to move the ones that are kind of off to the sides here, closer to my feet, and maybe we can get all these pups to settle in and take a nap right here around my feet. Not too long ago, they just woke up from their nap. So these pups are a little bit energized at the moment. They may not fall asleep and just hang out like sometimes I can get them to do for this pick video. So, but we've been playing with them for a little while, getting a playtime video to do in association with this pick video. And so they might be tuckered out enough that they will just stay put and fall asleep right here at my feet, so that we can kind of get some side-by-sides of them all at the same time, so you can see the minor but sometimes noticeable color differences with Sweet Pea's litter and with Fern's litter. Man, their coat colors are very consistent. We really have to study them side by side to say, yep, that one's darker, obviously, and this one's lighter, obviously. If they're not by each other, man, it's hard to tell much of a difference from a distance. So these guys are pretty consistent, pretty uniform in color, but there are some minor differences. So work with me here and watch me struggle as I try to get some pups to stay put. I'm gonna just start picking up the ones that are falling asleep and see if I can get them to fall asleep and stay asleep right here at my feet. So right behind the camera we got orange and red, so I'll go for them first and see what happens when I bring them in. And then over here behind we've got yellow, yellow and black, and I'll bring them in, see what happens if they stay put. They might go back down, maybe not. Over here to this side we've got pink and we've got blue. If I can get a couple of them to go back down, then usually the others will collect and stay put too. So we've got red and green coming back. Let's see if they'll stay. Right now black is my anchor. He's the one staying put. So if he'll stay here, maybe the others will. I see Miss Teal is in this other little obstacle. I've got this blue obstacle I'm sitting on, and then I've got the red one that the camera's sitting on, being my desk. So black and blue, I think they were the most tired, and they're staying put. They might just be the anchor for this little crowd of pups. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Purple wandered a little farther away, and it looks like we've got probably enough energy left to go. I'm not sure that they're gonna stay put to start with, but my guess is by the time I'm done, they will have tuckered out enough that they will stay put at the end. So let's proceed, and I'll see if I can get them to tucker out while we're going and stay put at the... I accidentally hit the record button when I was turning the lens. I think I've got it pointed down a little bit better than before, but it may not be helping out a whole lot. So I'm just gonna start. We'll get you an up close view of these pups side by side. I'm gonna go get my notes. They're sitting right over here. And see if I can sit down without landing a pup under my feet. They're not feet smart. They like to run right where your foot's going. So sometimes we'll have a challenge with that. From what I can tell on this video, I think the camera is cooperating. I think in the playtime video, I noticed that the lighting in this GoPro camera still had that shadow that was kind of moving across the screen. It's like the refresh rate on the hertz of the image. If this all makes sense, you'll know when I say, you know, when you try to take a video of a computer screen or something like that and it just seems to flicker like really fast, or there's like a transition through it. It's because the refresh rate of the screen and the refresh rate of the image sensor of the camera aren't compatible. And so we just added 6 lights to this room hoping for improved video quality, and I think I'm figuring out that maybe my old GoPro camera was not the problem, because this is a brand new GoPro 12 and I'm still seeing that image change from top to bottom. So I apologize. I don't want this video to be about GoPro cameras and their hiccups, but I'm doing the best I can at the moment. I got a new GoPro. We have new lights in here, and I'm figuring out that the lights may be the problem, not the GoPro. So I will have to just address that in future videos and renovate some more in this room with some different lighting. So for now, we will just proceed. So let's get to puppies. I'm just gonna start at the top of the list with Miss Green and work our way down. Fern's pups were born 5 days after Sweet Pea's, so these pups are 5 days younger. Their overall size is trending smaller. Fern's pups are trending smaller than Sweet Pea's pups. Sweet Pea's pups were at average and above, and Fern's pups happen to be at average and below. So to give some reference for some of this, we would expect a 5-week-old puppy to be in that 4.5 to 5.5 pound range. Basically, pups are born, and from that time forward, they gain about a pound a week. So if you know, depending on what size they start at, if they're gaining a pound a week, then they'll be in that 5.5 pound range at this time. And so some are a little bit slower to grow and some are a little bit faster to grow. And we're finding Fern's pups are trending a little bit smaller on average. But none of them are like super runt size, but comparative to Sweet Pea's pups, these pups look quite a bit smaller. But when you compare them to what we would consider average, then these pups are not that much smaller than average. So Miss Green happens to be kind of middle of the road size-wise. If I can find her, she walked away, and I gotta figure out, here she is, right underneath Miss Pink. She happens to be right at that average mark size-wise. So she is 4.71 pounds. At birth, she was 0.66 pounds. And so now she's, oh, I gotta hold her further down. Sorry, I was looking at my notes and not the camera screen. So how can I hold her best? I'm gonna scoot a little farther forward. Let's do this and then hold them down a little more. I think that works well. Hope you do too. So she's at 4.71 pounds, And at birth, we noticed some of their markings that were slightly more pronounced at birth than what they will be right now. I mentioned this in Sweet Pea's video. It's probably my best way to describe why we see markings at birth more than we see markings at this age, and that's because dogs go through kind of 3 phases of their coat. One is a newborn coat, and it's quite thick, and it has the most contrast at the time. And as they grow, it's like they get more surface area of skin, but not a lot of surface area for fur follicles. So their coat seems thinner, and maybe even not quite as long of a coat density. So some of their markings don't show up as pronounced right now at this 5-week age as they did at birth. So pay attention to that birth video. That's going to show you a lot of their markings that may be evident with their adult coat, which is the 3rd version of their coat that we comes in, has a thicker coat, more of their guard hair, kind of undercoat. They don't get a thick, long undercoat for winter, but they do have different fur coarseness that comes in with their adult coat. Anyway, so Green is our test puppy for explaining some of that. So thanks for working through some of that explanation. At birth, we noticed that she had a faint, I'm going to scoot even farther forward to show you some of this. We noticed at birth she had a faint marking around her groin. I am seeing a few light hairs there. We noticed her back right paw had a few light hairs, and I can still see that. If I tilt it down, I think you can see that well. And we were curious about if she had a neck marking, and if I tilt her head back, you'll note that their undercarriage, their whole underside, this is where their coat density is the thinnest and most noticeable, that there is just not very thick hair. And so I'm not seeing any of that neck marking at this time, just some kind of rolls of their skin that I'm noticing. So Miss Green, not very marked puppy, a little bit lighter coat overall, and you'll see when I get all these doggies lined up that you'll notice that Miss Green is a little bit lighter. So that is Miss Green. Oh, personality wise, sorry, I almost forgot. So Miss Green is quite comfortable. She likes to be handled and quite comfortable in her hands. Energy wise, good energy and things like that. She's not the top of the totem pole, but she is comfortable when we handle her. She doesn't get kind of tense or things like that, and you'll notice that she feels comfortable here being handled, especially when she's all tuckered out like this. So that is Miss Green. Great personality, great looking pup. Next we'll go on to Miss Gray, and these pups are really starting to settle in, so I'm going to start collecting them in an area where we can get them to show off all together at the end of this video. Okay, so Miss Gray was snoozing, so I'm waking her up. Might startle her for a second while she gets her bearings about what just happened. She was snoozing calmly, and then she just got picked up out of the blue. So Miss Gray, she is the smallest of the pups. We noticed actually Sweet Pea's Miss Gray and Fern's Miss Gray and Fern's Teal did not just take off with their nursing. So they kind of munched on Mama versus vacuum on Mama. They didn't get quite as much milk as they were going along. So we noticed that they started lagging behind a little bit, and we gave them preference at times when we were in monitoring things and helping them out to get started nursing. So they have good energy. They had plenty of energy for, you know, activity and things like that. They had good health and vitality, but they didn't quite grow as fast as some of the others. So Miss Gray, being at 3.43 pounds, she is on the smaller side of average for sure. So Miss Teal is also on the small side of average, but Miss Gray is just slightly smaller. So we noticed at birth, Miss Gray had marked growing area, and I do see a few light hairs there. We noticed that she had a small marking on her neck, and if I hold her and get her comfortable and support her and not make her feel like she's gonna tip over. This is kind of crazy, huh? Look at these people holding it all weird. We do note a few of those light hairs right under her collar area on her neck. And so she had a frosted, so very lightly marked set of few hairs on a back right toes. And so that was all of the markings that we noticed out of Miss Gray. So Miss Gray, she's slightly reserved. I don't know if you noticed when I handle her a little bit. She's not quite as comfortable. She kind of tenses up a little bit. Nothing too crazy. She doesn't like freak out, but she's not quite as confident as some of the other pups. Personality-wise, she, being the smallest, she doesn't let the others push her around. She is full of spice. So she's not necessarily like dominant or anything like that, but she has figured out that she can't let her weight let the others dominate over her. So she knows how to kind of put up the dukes and stick up for herself when the others try to use their weight to their advantage and things like that. But Miss Gray is quite affectionate. I don't know if you can tell, she likes my flavor at the moment. So she's a little bit of a kisser and likes affection, likes her people time and things like that. Doesn't necessarily get really comfortable when I lay her back. So not quite as confident, but she definitely loves to be snuggled and held and things like that in a comfortable position. So that's just a little few personality indicators and things like that. So Miss Gray is just as cute as they come and gonna be a small one. So next we'll go to Miss Teal, and I gotta figure out where she went. I think she's under here in the red container area of these obstacles. Sorry, Miss Teal, I'm gonna be the bad guy and wake you up, huh? So, oh yes, there it is. You get to be the star of the show for a minute. So, Miss Teal at birth was, oh, I forgot to say birth weight on Miss Gray, 0.59 pounds. I think I forgot that. So Miss Teal was 0.52 pounds, and currently she's 3.68 pounds. She was a little bit darker coat color. At birth, she had kind of the chest markings, and I'm gonna roll her back, try to keep her comfortable as I roll her over. So you can see that chest marking there. That's still gonna be prominent with her adult coat. And she had her groin marking, which was evident at birth. I don't hardly see any of that now. She had more prominent marked back toes, and we can see those still. So those will be fun to watch, little stocking toes running like the wind as she grows up. Miss Teal was a little bit more comfortable, we noticed, when we handle her backwards and things like that. She's a little bit more comfortable than some of the others. Not super confident, but a little bit more comfortable. And Miss Teal, she's another lively one, kind of like Gray. They get their zoomies and they go, go, go. Even though they didn't necessarily have a lot to eat, they were still lively and energetic. And so Miss Teal, she's just got a really fun personality to her, and a happy-go-lucky pup, and loves to play. And we'll be curious what her adult size ends up being, but probably on the smaller side of average. So that is Miss Teal. Next we have Miss Yellow, and she's just over here to this side, right out here where I can reach her. So Miss Yellow at birth was 0.68 pounds, and currently she's 3.92 pounds. So not super small. She's third as far as the girls go on the smaller side of things, but just shy of that 4-pound mark. We noticed at birth she had tiny neck marking, and when I lay her back and try to get her comfortable to look for that, I honestly have a hard time seeing that in the collar area on her neck, and so I'm just not seeing it really. If there's white hairs in there, it looks just like a highlight from the lighting in the room. So not seeing a lot there. She had what we thought was a chest marking, and it's quite faint right now, but there are a few light hairs right there. And then her groin was marked, and that one is a little bit more obvious. We can see some lighter hairs there, so she has a few light hairs there. And Miss Yellow, she's on the comfortable side of things. I don't know if you can tell. She's a kisser, so when she gets around us and gets being held, she likes to give us kisses, some puppy kisses. She's comfortable, she's inquisitive. We've noticed that as we handle her, like if we're like cutting her nails or changing her ribbon, or things like that, oftentimes we have to like point her away from us doing that. Like when we're trimming nails, we're pointing her away from us, and she loves to just say, no, I don't want to point away from you guys, I want to face you guys. So she consistently wants to turn around and figure out where we're at and what we're doing, give us kisses. So she's quite inquisitive. She says, don't turn me away from you guys. I want to face you guys and see what's going on. So smart girl, Miss Yellow here. Comfortable, inquisitive, and kind of a kisser. Those are a few things we've noticed about her. So next we've got Miss Pink, and she is far over to the side over here. Let me go stand up and go get her. I brought Pink and Purple with me. I'll set Purple down and see if she goes to sleep. So Miss Pink at birth, she was 0.7 pounds. Currently, Miss Pink is 4.78 pounds. So she is third, middle of the road kind of size-wise, or second place size-wise, but not by a lot, over green. So she's 4.78 pounds currently, average size for this age of a pup. And at birth, we noted that she was appearing to be solid. And at this time, we're not really seeing anything different that would lead us to believe otherwise. We're thinking that Miss Pink here is a solid pup. So not much to show you on marking wise with her. A little bit about her, she seems to be fairly comfortable. If I can kind of get her to look at the camera and lay her back. She seems to settle in nicely if we are handling her and tipping her back. She's a little bit more confident, a little bit more trusting with us. Doesn't really tense up when we handle her too much. So Miss Pink is quite comfortable being handled. She's also inquisitive. Earlier, like at different times, we'll bring like a chair in here or something like that. And she's convinced she has to figure out everything about anything that's new. If we bring something new in the room, she's just gonna figure it out. Like every square inch of it, she investigates. So she's quite smart, quite inquisitive. We've noticed that's a little bit unique. And she's a kisser, so she likes my flavor. She likes to give us kisses and likes to be handled. So that is Miss Pink, just as cute as they come as well, and a fun personality. Next we've got Miss Purple, and she did stay asleep right at my toes. Sorry, I bumped the camera there. I think we're still facing the right way. So Miss Purple at birth, she was 0.79 pounds. So at birth, she was the biggest of the girls, and she continues to be the biggest of the girls. She's not necessarily a chunky pup or oversized, but compared to her litter mates, she's a big girl. She's 5.26 pounds right now. So average for the most part, but right there on the larger side of average for this litter. So Miss Purple at birth, we noticed she had a slight neck marking, and if I tip her head back gently, I can barely see a few light hairs for that neck marking, but I've really got to hunt to find those. I think I'm gonna try to get that in the camera. I think when I bumped it, I need to point this up just a little bit. Let's try that. So I can barely see those slight neck marks, slight neck hairs. We had kind of a slight groin marking. I really can't hardly see any white hairs there right now. And so overall, mostly solid pup. It's very hard to see those very slight markings when we turn them around and look at them closely. So personality-wise, Purple has felt comfortable to be held with us. When she's supported, we've got her in our hands. She seems a little bit more confident. She has shown at different times a little bit of caution when we've handled her a little bit. She's comfortable overall, but maybe on a slightly cautious side. But at the same time with that, like, she's adventurous. She's one of the pups that we've noticed. We've got like these taller obstacles like I'm sitting on, and they'll be able to get up here in not too long. But this smaller one, this is not that far off the ground. That's maybe like, oh gosh, 8-10 inches off the ground. They still struggle to get up here, but Miss Purple, she has been working hard to get up there. She is a little bit bigger, and so that's a little bit easier for her right now, but she's got some agility and some adventure in her personality. She likes to seek out new places. So that is Miss Purple. So next we're moving on to the boys. We're going to Mr. Orange, and I will go grab him. He's not too far away, just on the edge of the puppy pile here. So Mr. Orange here at birth, he was 0.85 pounds. So one of the biggest of the boys. And currently he's 5.53 pounds. And so he's the biggest of the litter and the biggest of the boys. So he's a little bit darker coat than some of the others, just a shade darker. He had the marking in his throat, and we can still see that marking right there. That one's a little bit more obvious. He had the marking on his chest. That was kind of the number 4. So if I tilt that up. It doesn't really look like a 4 right now, but if you imagine it, it does kind of, it could come back to be kind of a number 4. So he had the marked groin, and we're seeing those light hairs still. And then he had the marked back toes, his back feet. And so those are nice and heavily marked. Something that I'm noticing right now that I'm not sure I fully picked up on when he was born. He might have a little bit of a marked lower lip. If I tilt his face up a little bit, can you look at the camera? Do you see that right there? He has almost a little bit of a goatee. Look, I don't know if that is just a change in his puppy coat, but or just a different density in the coat. But I'm seeing a little bit of maybe a goatee right there under that lower lip. So that is his markings. Mr. Orange, he's slightly reserved. Like when we tilt him back, takes him just a second to feel comfortable, but he does settle in. He loves his belly rubs, just as sweet of a personality as they come. We've noticed he's a kisser, and so just great personality on these boys here. So this is Mr. Orange. Next we've got Mr. Black, and I believe he's right here in the middle of the puppy pile. So I will grab him. Just up that side of it, and sorry to wake you up from your nap, Mr. Black. Apologize about that. So out of the boys, he's just a little bit slightly lighter on his coat color. And at birth, he was 0.74 pounds. Right now, he's 4.58 pounds. So he's not necessarily like super small, but he's on the smaller side of average. And we noticed at birth he had a neck marking. So if we tilt his head back, I'm struggling to see a really definitive marked neck, but if I kind of roll his skin in the different light, there is a few lighter hairs that are still there. So that neck marking may not be super obvious at birth, or excuse me, with his adult coat. And so he had the kind of marked chest area, and so he's got these 2 marked areas on his chest. If I sit back out of the light, you might be able to see that a little bit. And then we noticed he had a few light hairs around the groin. We can see those. And then his back toes, like Orange, were notably marked as well. So that is Mr. Black. He's got a great personality, a little bit comfortable when we've handled him. He likes to settle in for his belly rubs and get comfortable, likes to snuggle with us. Not super, he's not top of the totem pole and whatnot there. He's more middle of the road personality. So next we've got Mr. Blue, and he has climbed out to join the puppy pile in the middle here. So I'll pull him out. So Fern's Blue at birth, he was 0.83 pounds, and right now he's 5.44 pounds. So he's a good sized boy. He's number 2 on the list for size for this group. And I should turn his collar around so you see he's polka dotted. He's not the solid blue like sweet peas. He's got the polka dot blue. So he's a little bit darker on the coat color than some of the others. Not a lot darker. We don't have like a super dark or super light, but he's a little bit on the darker. We noticed we couldn't see really any neck markings or chest markings at birth. We did note they had a few light hairs around his groin. We can see those. Not lots, but he'll probably have that with his adult coat. And so Mr. Blue, I would say he's one of the ones, even though he's like on the big side of the spectrum, he's a little bit of the bottom of the totem pole. So he's just kind of content to let everybody else run their game, and he kind of sits back a little bit. He's not the leader of the pack. He's not like super timid or anything like that. He's just not out there. So I think the camera cut off right when I was in the middle of Blue's presentation. So I was talking about his personality, and then I noticed that the timer on the record wasn't there. I was like, what happened? Anyway, so Mr. Blue, he's not the top of the totem pole, and he's kind of one that is willing to hang back a little bit, let life work around him, but he enjoys to eat. So he's a little bit on the bigger side. So not quite as energetic, and by that I mean not quite. A Vizsla is still going to be high energy. Even the low energy Vizsla is higher energy than most dogs. So still expect him to be that rascally handful during puppy years. But at the moment, he's kind of a little bit more laid back. So that is Mr. Blue. So last but not least, we've got Mr. Red, and I will pick him up out of the puppy pile. So Mr. Red here, he at birth was 0.85 pounds, and currently he's 4.76, and if I can get him comfy in my hands, which puts him not quite the smallest, but next to smallest on the boys, but still average for this litter and overall. So we noticed at birth he had a little bit of a dot on his neck, and I'm gonna tip him back and see what we can see for visibility on that. And I have to hold him just right to be able to kind of see those lighter hairs. It is not very pronounced, but there is some lighter hairs on his neck. And so we noticed he had the very lightly marked groin, and right now I see a few lighter hairs, but not a lot there. And Mr. Red, he is quite comfortable. We've handled him and he settles in. Right now I've got him going forward, got him going backwards, and he's wondering, what in the world are you doing to me? So he's a little bit tense at the moment from me waking him up and then turning him forward, turning him backwards. But overall, he's ended up being quite comfortable. I don't know if you can see how he's just settled right in and whatnot. So he's a more inquisitive pup as well, quite smart, and they're all smart, but some just learn kind of some things quicker, and so we've just noticed he's kind of inquisitive and likes to figure things out. So that is Mr. Red, and this whole puppy pile has settled in right below me, and I'm going to get this camera in my hand, see if I can get everything situated here and show these pups to you. So if we can keep this going without losing control here. We've got these pups here that are totally asleep, and then others that are starting to wake back up. I'll see if I can get Miss Yellow to leave everybody alone. We've got Miss Teal here. We've got Miss Purple. So one of the bigger ones next to one of the smaller ones. You can see there's a little size difference if we kind of lay them side by side here. And then we got Miss Pink over here. Orange. We got Miss Green, Miss Yellow. Miss Yellow just needs attention and some love right now, huh? Yes, you do. And down here we got Mr. Blue. We're just working with him. We got Mr. Black over here and Mr. Red. They're kind of awake. And then over here to this side, Miss Gray kind of fell asleep over here when I set her down. I didn't want to move her back to the pile. So if I shift over here, we've got this good group of pups. So we're just really pleased with how all these pups have turned out. They're right in the disposition range that we like to see. Their coat colors are very consistent. There's not a really big difference from darkest to lightest, but if you do hunt and set them up side by side, there's some modest minor differences there. So we hope this video has been helpful, and let us know if you're having any troubles narrowing it down between some of your top favorite pups.